Good morning. We know that God is love. We know that because He gives us rain, sunshine, flowers. He gives us nice things to eat. We think with our stomachs quite often. Jesus said that we would know who His disciples were if they had true love amongst themselves. He also said that we would know His voice, that His sheep would follow Him because they would know who He was, which was the right religion. So we need Holy Spirit to help us decide what right religion is and which means that we're following Jesus correctly. Holy Spirit we get from reading the scriptures. So this morning I want to look at 1 Corinthians 13. And we're looking at verses 4 to 8, where Paul explains the qualities that love gives us. And I want to compare this to some of the things that Watchtower does in their judicial system. So verse 4, love is patient with people, love is kind, there's no envy in love, there are no proud claims. Watchtower tells their followers, do not watch this television program, do not follow the Australian Royal Commission because they want to hide what they've been doing. They are proud. They don't want to admit that what they were doing was so wrong and so harmful. So it goes on that love never irritably loses its temper. It never nurses its wrath to keep it warm. I'll leave you with that one. And in verse 7, it says that love's first instinct is to believe in people. So a young person goes to the elders and says, look, I've been abused. What do the elders do? They bring in the abuser, he denies it. So they say to the young person, we don't believe you. Now, if you go and tell other people about this, that's slander and we're going to disfellowship you. Is that loving? Is it kind? Have they believed this young person? They've told this young person, you can't go to the police. So they've denied this young person any help whatsoever. They've cast him or her adrift. And the damage is horrendous. Is that love? Is this the sort of love that makes us think, yes, this is the truth. This is what Jesus was talking about? Absolutely not. So something occurred to me the other day, and it's in Colossians chapter 2. And this is what we really need to be concentrating on here. Because talking about what Jesus did, what he accomplished when he died. And in chapter 2 of Colossians, verse 14, it says that Jesus cancelled the bond by which we were self-committed to the decrees of the law and by which we stood condemned. We had a certificate of debt against us that we owed this, and this to God. Jesus wiped that out. He didn't just cross it out, he wiped it out. So our sins have been obliterated. And by dying, he paid such a huge price that he bought us. He bought the whole human race. So I would like Watchtower to remember this, because there's another verse in 1 Corinthians 13. And it says here, love never regards anyone or anything as hopeless. And I have to remember that with Watchtower, to try to remember that they're not hopeless. I hope, anyway. And I'm hoping that with all the letters I've sent to them and with these videos, that they might hear the voice of the shepherd and turn around to doing good things. And remember that the people they're dealing with belong to Jesus Christ, that their sins have been wiped out. They just don't exist. And to love them. And yes, where there are serious sins, it needs to be dealt with. But We just need a balance here. Now, verse 15, and you might like to look at this in your own time. So that's Colossians 2:15, and it's talking about the enormity of what Jesus did when he died. It says that minute he died, he stripped the demonic powers and the authorities of their power and made a public spectacle of them, as if they'd been captives in a victor's triumphal procession. Yes, Satan has held on to his power for the last 2,000 years, but in that minute when Jesus died, he stripped Satan of any power that he had. God has allowed the governments to go on ruling because it's better than having no ruling at all. But if we could just bear in mind the enormity of what Jesus did in the minute that he died. Yes, there was an earthquake when he died. There was darkness because of the eclipse. The curtain in the temple was rent in two. But that 1 minute was absolutely vital to the earth's future. And it set in motion everything that God was going to do to put things right for us. It was more momentous than anything else that's happened in human history. And it's more momentous even than the end of the world, because Jesus' sacrifice is what made that possible. So have a think about that and see what you think. And Watchtower, please take notice of what you're doing. But thank you for watching this morning.